Hey y'all, this is Brita, the author and creator of The Happier Attorney, and welcome to our podcast where we talk about how you can be a happier attorney and how you can be an attorney and still have a life that you love and do a great job for your clients and not overwork and just create the life that fits you, not what you're supposed to want, but what you actually want. And this month is February, and so we are talking about love. Anyway, just bear with me. And actually what we're talking about is being kind to ourselves and how that permeates throughout our practice and throughout our entire life, okay? And I would invite you, if you haven't watched the first two videos this month, to watch those, because that explains like why we're talking about this and how in the world is it relevant to me being an attorney. Like, are you kidding me? It is. It is. Think about the last interaction you had with an attorney that was nasty, that was just ugly and mean, or like, what is that guy's problem? That's why we're talking about it. That person is not kind to themselves. That person is not a happy attorney. And it shows. And it starts with us. We have no control over that attorney. We do have control over us. And it starts from the inside out. So this week, we are going to be talking about what being kind to yourself actually means. Like, yeah, that sounds great in theory. Like, oh, love yourself and be kind to yourself. I didn't know what that meant a couple years ago. I thought it meant indulging myself. And it doesn't. What it boils down to is at any given moment, you have a choice in how you react to circumstances. It means taking 100% responsibility for your life and how you react. So you have no control over what another attorney is going to do. You have no control over what maybe your spouse or your employees are going to do or your kids, but you do have control over how you react to it. And being kind to yourself is about that moment when something happens, especially with you, and how you react to it. Are you going to beat yourself up over it, or are you going to be kind to yourself? So one trick that I use, and let me back up for a second. You're never going to have a perfect life, okay? That's not life. Storms are always going to come into life. We are always going to make errors. I don't care who you are. I don't care how careful you are. This is life, okay? No one has a perfect life. That doesn't exist. Even when you see people and you think they do, they don't. Trust me. I see behind the velvet curtain of people's lives. They don't. So how you deal with those things is what is critical. And you have a choice. Are you going to be kind or not? One trick that I use is, and this has helped me so much, is how would you respond if that was a 3-year-old or another child that you loved? Okay, assuming you're not a sociopath, you love the kid. If they came back with a bad grade, how would you react to that? Would you shame them? I hope not. Would you berate them? I hope not. Although I have 3 grown kids, and I can tell you that there were times when I was not my best and I did not handle things well. And you know why? Because I was really horrible to myself. And it translated to me being not so great with them when they made mistakes. So how would you like to handle things if it was a 3-year-old? So for instance, I'm going to give you what seems like a silly example, but to make my point, okay? It's Valentine's Day this month. I have had this red dress. I love it. And it's a little snug. Now, I have 2 choices. I can oh my God, I can't believe you. You used to be able to wear that. You know, if you would just buck up a little bit, if you would just work out more, if you would just stop eating that, blah, 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 you could have gotten into that dress and it wouldn't have been tight. And how do you feel after you do that to yourself? Do you feel great? Do you feel like eating healthy? Do you feel like working out? Or do you feel shamed and you feel... Or I can approach it a different way with kindness and saying, you know what? It's great that you still even have it, that you can get it on. And you know what? You are doing healthy things. You are making good choices. And you know what? I bet if you try that dress on in another month, it's going to be even better. What is more likely to get me into the dress? Which approach is more likely to get me to my goal? And which approach just keeps me happier? So if you wouldn't say it to a 3-year-old, or you wouldn't say it in that tone to a 3-year-old, don't say it to yourself like that. That's my rule. And, don't get hung up on the 3-year-old, okay? Say it's a teenager and they, drop the ball on an assignment. Again, how would you handle that? Would you berate them? And how is that going to be helpful? It's not. So we all make mistakes. We all are going to drop the ball at one point or another. How do you handle that? And how do you talk to yourself about that? Okay? Again, there is no growth when there is judgment. And when you are teaching yourself boundaries of how you're going to treat yourself, like, I'm just not going to go there. We don't do that. We don't beat myself up. We are not a martyr. We just don't do that. You're showing others how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. And we all know those attorneys who let people step all over them. Why? Because other people can. And we also know those attorneys who people wouldn't even try it. Or if they did, they'd try it once because it didn't work. What's the difference? The attorneys that have boundaries show that they have boundaries. And people stop trying. Why? Because those people respect themselves and they're kind to themselves and they're just not putting up with nonsense like that. Okay? And it doesn't mean you get angry. It doesn't mean you make a scene. It doesn't mean that you have to make a big fuss. You just don't tolerate nonsense because you are kind to yourself and you are not going to put yourself in that position where somebody's being ugly to you. You just don't. It is a real game changer when you start being kind to yourself. So the first step, I would just invite you to have that be your test. Would I say that to a 3-year-old? Don't get hung up. Don't do the over attorney thing. Well, I'm not a 3-year-old and I should know better. Okay, that's not the point. So don't over attorney this. Just trust me on this. I know you're not a 3-year-old. We're just going to pretend that you are going to try and be nice to yourself and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? You try this for a couple weeks and, you don't like it? Fine, you can go back to beating the crap out of yourself. But who knows? Maybe some things will start changing when you're kind to yourself. You have nothing to lose, okay? So if you have gotten any value out of this video, like it, subscribe, do all the things. There are links below to join Attorneys and Flat Fees on Facebook if you have not already. There is a link if you want to get more information about working with me directly. And thank you for watching. And seriously, just, I don't care how tough you are. I don't care what kind of attorney you are. I don't care if you are the meanest son of a bitch litigator out there. It starts with being kind to yourself. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's really not. It is a sign of strength, actually. Exactly the opposite of what most attorneys think. Being kind to yourself is being strong. Just try it. Take care.